guys, this is the Bookish Dad. If you enjoy this, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more. Today, I will be talking about 1984 by George Orwell. The book 1984 is a dystopian novel written by George Orwell and published in 1949. The story takes place in a totalitarian society in the year 1984, where the government, led by the party, controls every aspect of citizens' lives through surveillance, propaganda, and censorship. The protagonist of the story is Winston Smith, a member of the Outer Party who works for the Ministry of Truth, which is responsible for rewriting history to align with the party's ideology. Winston secretly hates the party and begins a forbidden love affair with a fellow worker named Julia. As Winston and Julia become more involved in their relationship, they become increasingly aware of the party's brutality and control, including the thought police who monitor citizens for any signs of rebellion. Winston eventually rebels against the party and is tortured and brainwashed until he fully submits to the party's ideology and betrays Julia. The novel explores themes of totalitarianism, individualism, censorship, propaganda, and the dangers of government control over citizens' lives. It has been widely regarded as a classic and a warning against the dangers of authoritarianism. Now I want to have some fun with this and break it down somewhat. First, I want to talk about the characters. 1984 features several complex and intriguing characters. Here are some of the key characters and their roles in the story. Winston Smith is a member of the Outer Party who works at the Ministry of Truth. Winston secretly hates the party and begins a forbidden love affair with Julia. As he becomes more involved in his relationship and more disillusioned with the party, he rebels against the party and is ultimately tortured and brainwashed until he fully submits to the party's ideology. Julia is Winston's love interest and a fellow worker at the Ministry of Truth. She is initially presented as a carefree rebel who dislikes the party but is not as politically motivated as Winston. As the story progresses, however, she becomes more politically aware and more committed to resisting the party. O'Brien is a member of the Inner Party and an enigmatic figure in the novel. Winston trusts O'Brien as a potential ally in his rebellion against the party, but ultimately O'Brien betrays Winston and reveals himself to be a loyal supporter of the party's ideology. Big Brother is the leader of the party and a ubiquitous figure in Oceania. Though he is never seen in person, his image and slogans are everywhere, and he is worshipped by party members as a godlike figure. Syme is a co-worker of Winston's at the Ministry of Truth, who is highly intelligent and skilled at manipulating language. He is ultimately vaporized by the party for his subversive tendencies. These are just a few of the key characters in 1984. Each character represents different aspects of the party's control and manipulation of individuals, and their interactions with one another help to illustrate the ways in which totalitarian regimes can impact individual lives. Next, I would like to dive into the themes this book brings up and frankly, I get the most backlash for. There are several themes explored in the book 1984 by George Orwell. Here are some of the major themes. The first theme I'd like to discuss is totalitarianism. One of the central themes of 1984 is the dangers of totalitarianism. The novel depicts a society in which the government has complete control over citizens' lives, using surveillance, propaganda, and censorship to maintain power. Another key theme of the book is the power of language and propaganda to shape people's perceptions of reality. The party uses language as a tool of control, redefining words and concepts to suit its own ideology. This book also explores the importance of individualism in the face of totalitarianism. Winston Smith's rebellion against the party is ultimately a rebellion against the idea that the individual should be subsumed by the state. The novel shows the dangers of censorship, both in terms of controlling the flow of information and in terms of limiting people's ability to express themselves. Lastly, 1984 also explores the nature of power and how it can corrupt individuals and institutions. The party's lust for power leads it to commit atrocities and manipulate its citizens, while Winston's quest for power ultimately leads him to betray his ideals. These are just a few of the key themes in 1984. The novel remains relevant today as a warning about the dangers of totalitarianism and the importance of preserving individual freedom and autonomy. That's right, individual freedom and autonomy. Next, I want to go in the world building. The world building in 1984 is a central aspect of the novel and one of the key reasons why it remains a classic of dystopian literature. Orwell's world of Oceania is a grim and oppressive place where the government exercises total control over every aspect of citizens' lives. Here are some of the key features of Orwell's world building. The setting, 1984, takes place in a future version of London, which has been renamed Airstrip 1 and is part of the larger country of Oceania. The world is perpetually at war with the other two global superpowers, Eurasia and Eastasia. The government in Oceania is a totalitarian regime known as the Party, which is led by a figurehead known as Big Brother. The Party exercises total control over citizens' lives, using surveillance, propaganda, and censorship to maintain power. 1984 features several pieces of technology that are used to control citizens, including telescreens, the thought police, and Newspeak. The social structure. Oceania is divided into three social classes: the inner party, the outer party, and the proles. The proles are largely ignored by the party as they are seen as too stupid and unimportant to pose a threat to the regime. Overall, the world building in 1984 is a bleak and terrifying vision of a future in which government control has reached its logical extreme. The attention to detail and the vivid descriptions of life in Oceania make the novel an enduring classic of dystopian literature. Finally, we reach the political and social commentary of the book. 1984 is a political and social commentary on totalitarianism, propaganda, and the dangers of government control over individuals. Orwell wrote the book in the aftermath of World War II, when the world was grappling with the atrocities committed by totalitarian regimes like Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. Here are some of the key political and social commentaries in 1984. Totalitarianism. Orwell was deeply concerned with the dangers of totalitarianism, and 1984 is a warning against the dangers of governments that have complete control over citizens' lives. The Party in 1984 exercises complete control over every aspect of life, using surveillance, propaganda, and censorship to maintain power. Another key theme of the book is the power of propaganda and how it can be used to shape people's perceptions of reality. The Party in 1984 uses propaganda to control the thoughts and behavior of citizens, using slogans like "war is peace" and "ignorance is strength" to reinforce its ideology. 1984 is also a commentary on the dangers of censorship, both in terms of limiting the flow of information and in terms of limiting people's ability to express themselves. The Party censors all information that does not conform to its ideology, including history and literature. Can we say book bannings and the banning of certain practices individuals do in today's society? The book also examines the dangers of surveillance and how it can be used to control citizens. In 1984, the Party uses telescreens to monitor citizens' behavior, and the thought police are always watching for signs of dissent. Finally, 1984 is a commentary on the importance of individualism and the dangers of subsuming individual identity to the state. Winston Smith's rebellion against the Party is ultimately a rebellion against the idea that the individual should be subsumed by the state. Overall, 1984 is a powerful political and social commentary on the dangers of totalitarianism and the importance of preserving individual freedom and autonomy. It remains a relevant warning today as governments continue to seek greater control over citizens' lives through surveillance and censorship. Well, that's about it for today's journey in reading. I really hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. Thank you for watching, and if you want to know more about me and my journey, you visit the link in the description.